Welcome to Biz Wire. I'm Joseph Nordstrom in Beijing. Chinese demand for oil only grew 3% last year, but that's not slowing its national oil companies from buying up assets around the world. Globally, mergers and acquisitions were down significantly last year, from $250 to $136 billion in deals. Despite the worldwide slowdown, China was the biggest buyer of upstream oil and gas assets last year, spending over $22 billion. But China's largest energy companies have been the subject of anti-corruption investigations, so the future is uncertain for M&A deals, at least in 2014. China's President Xi Jinping has said that the country will continue its high-pressure anti-corruption campaign. Caixin Media reported a source close to oil giant CNPC, who said that after its former president Jiang Jiemin was removed as head of the state-owned assets regulator, investigators turned their attention to oil companies' overseas M&A operations. Caixin says this would make China's major state oil companies more cautious in pursuing large-scale deals abroad. The Paris-based International Energy Agency's World Energy Outlook 2013 report says the center of gravity of energy demand is shifting toward emerging economies, especially China, India, and the Middle East, as these areas will contribute more than one-third to global energy demand. Energy consumption in developed countries in Europe and North America has stabilized and even declined slightly in some cases. Because they're at different stages of development, oil and gas companies of emerging countries like China and large European and American multinationals have different strategies for securing natural resources. Researcher at CNPC, Jiang, says multinational oil companies have moved one after another to peel off mature and non-strategic assets that are unsuited to changes in the industry. Strategy specialist at CNPC, Zhang said that international oil companies have changed their mode of production from scale expansion to a focus on growth of value. The focus of multinational oil giants is said to be on strengthening and consolidating their assets, while the core task of national oil companies in emerging countries is to increase the volumes of reserves through overseas expansion. Because of this, several industry researchers said that in the long term, China's Big Three will continue to chase overseas deals. CNOOC's chief energy researcher Chen Weidong says in the traditional oil and gas industry, requirements for project service and environmental protection have become higher. For many projects, after years of exploitation, the remaining reserves are more and more difficult to exploit, meaning costs will certainly be higher. While reserves are considerable in some areas in the Middle East and Africa with low per-barrel extraction costs, if the social and security costs were considered, expenses would be substantially higher. CNPC and CNOOC have in the past concentrated their overseas businesses in Asia, Africa, and Latin America due to considerations about resource costs, technological comparative advantage, and to avoid direct competition with international oil companies. But their investment targets have begun to shift to North America and Australian regions, where more mature and stable politics and economies. Another CNPC researcher, Wu Moyuan, said that in the past, Chinese companies focused on oil and gas investments in undeveloped countries, but now they are turning to more politically and economically stable countries and regions. For China's oil companies with more than 2 decades experience in expansion of overseas oil and gas business assets, operating risks and challenges are also growing larger, and analysts say that optimizing the quality of assets is imperative when buying resumes going forward. You're watching Biz Wire on the Blue Ocean Network, China's first and only privately owned English-language broadcast media. Our full episode can be seen on our website, BONTV/biz-wire. In just a moment, we'll continue with more insight into the big picture of China's economy.